Welcome to the Mental Health Militia News, where I am your host, Chabol, here with his co-host, Mr. Munster. Thank you, Mr. Munster. Today in the news, we have a doozy, but before we get into that, let's mention a disclaimer. Yes, this is a news station that comes with a warning. Why? Because we care that the information we provide you might be fire. But because it is me and Mr. Munster gathering it, producing it, writing it, and delivering it, it could blow up in your face just like this, gentleman. So please listen with some discretion and get some education in your life. Moving on from that to, yes, as we're starting to understand who Chabot is, he's just a simple man from Philadelphia living in the greater Philadelphia area. And if you ever feel like you want to, you can just hit him up on this P.O. box right here that he set up. And he doesn't mind getting fan mail. He has sent mail back, and then he also hasn't sent mail back. But make sure you put back a return address, and he'll get back to you. Moving on from who Chabot is to the opening quote. A old Cherokee told his grandson, "My son, there's a battle between two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It's anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies, and ego. The other is good. It's joy, peace, love, hope, humanity, kindness, and truth." The boy thought about it and asked, "Grandfather, which wolf wins?" The old man quietly replied, "The one you feed." So you see here, you must feed your soul good, and your body good, and your mind good, because if not, evil is going to be what comes out. Moving on from the opening quote to the opening story. Disgraced ex-New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is accused by state audit of deliberately excluding 4,000 COVID deaths in nursing homes from totals for 10 months to make his response look better. Yes, we see that Andrew Cuomo was piling these people on top of each other in these nursing homes, probably making one giant petri dish. They made more than COVID in those rooms. They probably made a Rona XXX. Ugh, with them old people, there's more than COVID going around. I heard there's like STDs and syphilis and like AIDS. I don't know. I don't want to think about what's going on in old folks' homes, but with this man, I definitely want to know what's going on in this old man's homes. Moving on from the news to the sick world news with your MHM news. It's all sick world news now. Yes, New Zealand to reopen borders sooner than planned after years of COVID isolation. New Zealand is bringing forward the opening of its international borders to some travelers after more than 2 years of COVID isolation. Yes, we see that New Zealand is probably going broke and needs tourist dollars to keep their economy booming. But because they were allowing just people that have been fully vacationed up in their jabberoonie arm, that they were like, we're not getting enough people to come in because enough people weren't getting jabberoonied up in their arm. So we see them just letting anybody in there. These people are going to get sick as hell. They're going to be like, we haven't seen germs in forever. Moving on from the news. To the yes, Ukraine war upended China's plan to invade Taiwan, alleged FSB whistleblower says. Yes, we see here that they probably had a plan where they were like, oh my gosh, Ukraine, we have some time to buy, but they flipped it on them, and that the Chinese people, they already had Taiwan under surveillance. What did it matter to them? So we're going to see these people like, oh, we come to your country, ha, we take over. You not fight back. Gee. Yes, we see here that Xi Jinping had planned to invade Taiwan and fall ahead of the Communist Party Congress documents claim. Yes, we see that these people are going to get themselves taken over and probably their biolabs exposed too. Moving on to, yes, the complex situation in Ukraine. The fake news media is selling a simple propaganda version of how we had got here. Here's one thing about Ukraine's current situation that led to this war that most people aren't aware of or don't know the full story about. The root causes of the current conflict began smearing back in the early 1990s, started boiling in 2014, and finally blew up in 2020. Yes, this is referring to the presidencies being installed, elections being stolen, being rerun, and all these biolabs being put in, and black money being filtered through Ukraine. This was just a situation boiling over, coming to a head. Moving on from the Welcome to America people with your MHM news. To Trump says Pence partnership over as ex-president eyes 2024 comeback bid. Yes, we see here that Trump is going to be the 2024 comeback kid. Yes, we see here that most likely he might be putting in General Michael Flynn as a vice president, or could we be seeing a return of John F. Kennedy Jr.? We are unsure, but we see here that Pence gone. Hit the road, Jack. You ain't welcome. No back. No more. No more. No more. No more. Pentagon contractors worked in Ukraine biolabs under $80 million program. Leaked documents give new information about the Pentagon program in biolaboratories in Ukraine. According to internal documents, Pentagon contractors were given full access to all Ukraine biolaboratories, while independent experts were denied even a visit. The new revelations challenge the U.S. government statement that the Pentagon just funded biolaboratories in Ukraine but had nothing to do with them. Yes, we see here that as fast as they are trying to erase information, information is being unerased and brought to the surface. Surface. Moving on from the information to the ironing out racial propaganda and intolerance here with your MHM news. We're going to be like, yes. Moving on to, rights groups demand Israel stop arming neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Human rights activists petitioned the court to cease Israel arms exports to Ukraine since some of these weapons reach neo-Nazi elements in Ukraine security forces. Mr. Munster, a group of more than 40 human rights activists have filed a petition with the High Court of Justice demanding the cease of Israel arms exports to Ukraine. Yes, we see here that these people weren't obviously informed that the Nazis and the Jews just don't go together. They're like oil and water, and we have to stop using the term neo-Nazi, because a neo-Nazi is just a guy who's like, hey, I like socialism and Nazism, so you're going to call me a neo-Nazi. But the Nazis have never went away, so these people are just new Nazis. Well, neo-Nazis. No, they're just Nazis. Moving on from the news to the border jumpers section here with their MHM news. I don't know if we can call them border jumpers anymore because we're flying them in now. Moving on to the Biden blows 76,000. Biden allows. Well, he would blow 76,000 children. Biden allows 76,000 Afghans to apply for temporary protection in U.S. despite vetting issues. More than 76,000 Afghan nationals brought to the United States following President Bootstraps Joe Biden chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan may apply for temporary protection status to shekel them from deportation, the Department of Homeland Security announced Wednesday, despite the fact that Watchdog report last month found some refugees poised serious security arrests. Yes, you see here that Bootstraps Joe Biden is probably wanting these people to wow off at the hips and disrupt the American people, probably sending us in disarray and security lockdown, because these people, I don't know, what if they got a big one? They put it in their sandal or something. Did anybody check these people for radiation? I'm asking a question. Does anybody answer me? No. Mr. Munster, you're no good right now. Moving on from that, fraud, scams, and lies could target you. So protect yourself, people. Start scanning these Afghanis for radiation. Geiger counter. Moving on from the news to that was a horrible Geiger counter. To the yes, Chris Cuomo accused CNN of smearing his journalistic integrity in new filing. Is this dude serious? I mean, didn't he smear himself? I mean, the name Cuomo, that's just a smear itself. I mean, you're going to be seeing Cuomos change their names from here on out. People that aren't even related to you name Cuomo, but I need to change my name to something else other than Cuomo. Yes, we see here that this man is filing and exceeding a $125 million bid to these CNN people to try to get legal action for smearing his name, but knowing he smeared his own name. I'd like to see that court battle. All them videos of him smearing himself and kissing his brother on camera. Ugh. Jussie Smollett leaves Chicago jail flanked by security guards just 6 days after he was sentenced to 150 days for fake hate crime. Judge ruled he should remain free during appeal and set bond at $150,000. Wish it was that easy for me to just stage crimes. No, we don't stage crimes. I just wish it was just that easy for me to bail out of jail. We see here that somebody got paid a good amount of money for this man to get the opportunity to be free again just 6 days after being incarcerated. Moving on to Boston social justice activist hubby charged with fraud and conspiracy in federal indictment. A prominent social justice activist in Boston and her husband have been charged with using a $6,000 grant to take at risk youth to Philadelphia retreat on themselves for a gateway to Maryland, restaurants and shopping sprees, amongst other things. Yes, we see here that these people are just not doing what they should with the money and are just committing crimes. Were they instructed to commit crimes, or are they just doing it amongst themselves? Either way, these people are going down. We're yelling timber. Moving on to yes, if you've made it this far, you've made it to the veteran section of the MHM News. Moving on to yes, in drop 2575, the plan to have the Fed raise rates steep incline beginning March 2019 in an effort to kill the economy prior to 2020. P-elect is known and planned for structured change coming. Yes, we see here that the Fed has just raised rates. So do we see that another plan is coming in place to save the American people from going completely broke? I hope so. Moving on from the news to the yes, in drop 956, in almost a 4-year delta, we have reached panic mode. Enjoy the show. Moving on to post 957, almost reaching a 4-year delta. Why are trips allowed? Whitelist. We are seeing that people have been sanctioned and other people allowed to travel. So is there now a blacklist and a whitelist? I think so. Moving on from the news to the yes, in post 954, almost a 4-year delta. Next week, boom, boom, boom. I hope so. In post 955, next week, boom, boom, boom. U.S. Marine Corps activated. Yes, we see here that I don't know why this news story wasn't in here, but the U.S. Marine Corps 2,200 troops have been sent to Australia. So we see here that most of these drops are coming true 4 years later. Whew. If you made it this far, that is all for now from the Mental Health Militia News. Mr. Munster and Chabul. Have a good one. God bless you and yours. Holla, Chabul. 2 fingers. Yeah, I mean, I don't cut this. I don't edit it. I run it straight through. It's just too much time to cut and edit it. I'd rather make mistakes and fail than waste time and not get the news out. Make sense? I'd rather waste time and fail and then waste time and not get the news out, because I'll quit. I'll get ornery and I'll quit. I'll be like, I can't edit all this. You suck. Da 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 da.